A really warm welcome to everyone today. We're absolutely delighted to be hosting this event. We'd like to welcome all our current Causeway members, all our guests, and some potential new members as well. And we're really excited to be feeling inspired about what's in store for this evening. So just a bit of background about myself. I am currently the head of research and development for a mental health startup, OK Positive. And we aim to provide tools to be able to support mental health and well-being within a workplace environment. So I'd now like to just introduce my co-host today, Saoirse.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am a solicitor at Anderson Strathearn and representing clients from all different sectors, and currently working to focus on corporate matters. And I also sit on the Causeway Young Professional Board. Thank you so much for everyone joining us tonight. I see we have people joining us from Edinburgh, Glasgow, and my birthplace, Galway, so far. So please keep letting us know where you're from, any particular businesses you're representing this evening. And I hope you enjoy our fantastic lineup of speakers.
Thanks so much, Saoirse. And just as a little FYI for everyone, we are recording this event, which means that you can share it far and wide after. I think let's run poll one, Aoife, please. That would be perfect. And I think our first poll, we'd just love to know how you heard about today's event. So whether that was via newsletter, social media, word of mouth, etc., that would be perfect. And while we do that, here's obviously our event today. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Causeway while we kind of warm that up. So Causeway's core focus is to protect and enhance trading relationships between Ireland, Scotland and Northern Ireland, no matter the political environment or landscape. It allows businesses to connect, communicate and collaborate, which is an amazing tool that we have. And just from looking there, it looks like the most common one is from a colleague or organisation. So amazing. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing that today. So as you can see, the kind of trade stats between Scotland and Ireland, Causeway is a really important kind of collaborative tool to be able to do that. And the key to success that Causeway's kind of realised over the past 5 years is it's the people, because it's the people which make business and trading relationships easy. So that's why I really appreciate everyone joining today. Causeway is an amazing platform that provides growing opportunities to connect business. And the really unique thing about Causeway is its willingness to do business with everyone and to talk business and to make it fun. We've got a really strong sense of partnership and ambition, and so we're really excited to welcome everyone to our event today. So could we run poll 2, please, Aoife? There we are. So people have kind of posted in the chat, but just for ourselves to kind of all realise as well where we're from today, that would be amazing. Just kind of work out our spread. If anyone's dialing in from anywhere exciting like Barbados, obviously let us know too. That's always great to hear. So yeah, as kind of Saoirse said, I'm part of the Causeway Young Professionals Committee, and so is Ailish and Finn there, who are also on the call. So hi guys, thanks so much for joining us. And we'll just wait. How are we getting on with the results from that poll, Aoife? Perfect. Oh, majority Scotland. Good. I'm dialing in from Edinburgh today, where we've had a super sunny day. So hopefully that's made everyone else happy as well. Perfect. Thank you for that. And so I'd just like to run us through the running order for this evening. So we've had our introduction. We're then going to hear from Jane McCulloch, who is the Consul General of Ireland and Scotland, then to Lorraine, Seany, Veronica, Gregor and Phil. What we're going to ask today is that if you can save all your questions for our fantastic speakers just until the end, once everyone's spoken, and we're going to kind of do more of a panel discussion, so that kind of, I think there's going to be a lot of really nice shared experiences from that. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms. We've got some really interesting questions to discuss. It's going to give a really great chance for networking. And I think that's something really important about what today is going to bring. It's just a little taster, if you're not already a member of Causeway, about what it provides. You're going to get a bit of networking. We're also going to be sending out a delegates list after, so you can get the LinkedIn connections soaring. And we're going to be providing a handout as well, just with a summary of everything for today. So our first speaker today is Jane, so I'll just pass over to Aoife, who's going to share Jane's message.
Hello, I'm Jane McCulloch, Ireland's Consul General in Edinburgh. I'm delighted to see this event taking place today, sharing the experiences and celebrating the courage and creativity of young professionals starting their own businesses and putting the power of their ideas to work. The Young Professionals Committee of Causeway has been a really creative innovation over the past year that's really changed the organisation. I'm delighted to see the energy and the innovation that the growing young professionals membership has brought to Causeway. Every time I attend one of the events and hear from you, I'm hugely inspired by the energy that you bring and how you're reinvigorating us all and the way that we think. We all have a lot to learn at any stage of our careers, and it's a two-way process. In Causeway, the experience of more seasoned professionals can help guide some of the newer younger members with regard to pitfalls, what to avoid, what may or may not work. But the more seasoned professionals probably have more to learn from the unbridled curiosity, the energy, and the bravery of the young professionals joining. And I'm absolutely delighted to see it. I hope we all learn a lot from today's event. And I know that not only the businesses that we'll hear from, but the network itself will go from strength to strength. Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks so much. And I'm just going to pass over to Saoirse now to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you so much, Megan, and lovely to hear from Jane endorsing our Young Professional Committee and all of our fantastic members that are here this evening. I'd first like to invite Lorraine to come forward to speak to her experience promoting enterprise both within Ireland and within Europe as well. Coming from the Entrepreneurs Academy this evening. Thank you very much for joining us, Lorraine. I'll pass over to you now.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. First thing you'll notice is that you'll be looking around to see who's the person from the picture and why do I not look like her. It's because there hasn't been a hairdresser's open for a year or anywhere to get a new headshot. So sorry if I look like I'm here under false pretenses. Yeah, my name is Lorraine Bowen and my current role within the Entrepreneurs Academy is Head of Innovation and Impact, which is a really exciting role to be in. So my role has been a really exciting one over the past year because of all the change that has happened within the world, and working at the Entrepreneurs Academy. We are an entrepreneur and leadership development company. We work with people who have an idea to start a business, people who want to start a business but don't have any ideas, and sometimes people who are falling over so many ideas they don't know where to start. And then we work with them all the way through the journey to help them on their way. So I suppose I've been working with the Academy for 8 years, and I've worked in a number of roles, but the one I'm in now suits me so well. It's one I'm very passionate about. So I suppose the very first thing we do when we start to work with anybody who wants to start a business, is ask the big question, which is why. It's not about what you do, it's why you do it. People will be probably familiar with the Simon Sinek video and all this, but it's really important to know why we're doing what we're doing. And I suppose in the last month or so, as we wrapped up a very kind of turbulent 2020, it was an incredibly challenging year for us, but it was also an incredibly fulfilling year, an impactful year, because we did a lot of really, really great work last year. We got to work with a lot of great people. So I suppose what we did was we went out to clients and we asked for feedback on how they saw us showing up during that, and we spoke to our team and we came up with a new vision for the business to make sure that our guiding lights are correct. So our new vision, which we just crafted over the last few weeks is we inspire and equip people to start, run and grow their business, to build sustainable futures and achieve their dreams through our passion, creativity, expertise and agility. So those are words that we would very much associate with, we've a really passionate team of, very creative people. We're a very highly innovative organization. We're very agile, and, our business structure is that we've got 12 internal management within the team, but then we have a team of 30 experts, topic experts, who go out on our behalf and train across the whole of Ireland, all virtually at the moment, but normally on the road to every nook and cranny of Ireland. So I suppose just to let you know the areas that we focus on. So anybody who has a dream or a passion to start a business or to run a business, we're here for. But to, I suppose, just give you a flavour of a couple of the organisations and a couple of the different projects we've worked on in the very recent past. So we focus on making sure that we have impact. If we take somebody's time and take them into a training situation or a mentoring situation with us, we are completely focused on impact. And our business model is to, the user doesn't tend to pay. A lot of the services that we provide tend to be free or very heavily subsidized for the user. So somebody who's trying to start or run a business. Because what we do is we partner with organisations, whether they're government funded organisations, EU funded projects, or with corporate clients, to co-create and partner to develop programmes that are going to have impact in a number of different areas. So I suppose if I just talk about a couple of different areas, one of them here, this Kickstart programme, that is designed and delivered for the education and training boards in Ireland. That is to help people who are long-term unemployed, or people who are unemployed, to help them move into self-employment, just to see a path for the future in any industry, by equipping them with the skills, the network, the knowledge, the confidence, and really just helping package themselves as an entrepreneur and give them the skills they need to start a business. So that's a project that we run, and so we're absolute experts at start your own business programs, but that one, I suppose, is tailored towards people who are coming from a period of unemployment, but we do it in a number of different areas. For the same client, the education and training boards in Ireland, we run this Thrive program. We've designed that for them. It is a 2-year support program that does a lot of work in terms of leadership development and management development of the startups who've come through the Kickstart program, but also other people who maybe haven't had that experience. And those, so we work with them over 2 years. We mastermind, we work with them in mastermind groups to help them build their leadership capacity, so they can really, really see the full potential within their business. And we're with them for 2 years. That first 2 very tricky years in business, we've got their back. This project over here, the Women in Enterprise programme, this is a project, we've done a lot of work with Allied Irish Bank, which is one of Ireland's pillar banks. Over the last number of years, we've run their Startup Academy, running 400 boot camps nationwide across Ireland. But this is specifically this Women in Enterprise project was it's focused on our passion for supporting women in enterprise and gender, really looking towards women in business and empowering women to be more ambitious and to get the support of each other and the skills they need to survive. So those that is a leadership masterclass program and leadership growth academy program on behalf of Allied Irish Bank. We also do a lot of work. So I suppose looking at there the range of different, so whether it's women, whether it's people who are unemployed, and some of the other projects you see here would be the Generation Entrepreneur and the Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur. Those are projects that we run for younger people. So the Generation Entrepreneur is for between 14 and 17-year-olds. It's a week-long entrepreneurship bootcamp program, and we delivered it online last year, funded by the Higher Education Authority in partnership with Griffith College, who are Ireland's largest independent college, and that was a phenomenally successful project that had young people from all over Ireland working together in teams, and it was a phenomenally successful project. Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur program, it's a local enterprise initiative that's run annually. Didn't run last year because of COVID, but it's run annually, and we run a lot of boot camps and mentoring programs. It's a competition, gets a lot of county pride going on, so that's a phenomenal way to be working with young entrepreneurs. The other project here for the same local enterprise office client is the online trading vouchers. So in all programs that we do, we make sure we instill digital confidence and competence, as well as financial competence and confidence in all of the people who are trying to start or run a business. So for the online trading voucher, last year alone, we delivered the trading online voucher to more than 20,000 small business owners in Ireland to help them with their digital transformation to combat the challenges and threat of COVID to their business. And we did that on behalf of the local enterprise office. So I suppose that's one that we would be, we would be able to, I suppose, demonstrates the scale of our reach and the type of work that we do. I suppose I'm going to finish up now just by talking about just one sample client. Just so you've seen a few different things that we do for different people, but I suppose if we just take one client and somebody and just talk about the relationship. So we have an absolutely super relationship with a really fantastic client of ours, the County Wicklow Partnership. And for them, we're delivering 3 programs. We've only been working with them for a little over a year, but they're an extremely innovative and creative and ambitious organisation who are really trying to have impact in the area of social enterprise and succeeding in the area of social enterprise, but also in supporting tourism. So the Social Enterprise Climb programme was developed to support rural youth, so young people in a rural environment to start up social enterprises. And the Social Enterprise Ascend programme in the same area, but for people of any age, not confined to younger people, but also then for community groups as well, to support them in their social enterprise endeavours. But then I suppose that's the social enterprise side for that client, but we're also, to combat the absolute horrific challenges that the tourism sector is facing in Ireland. Wicklow is the Garden of Ireland. It is one of our most beautiful counties, and the forests of Wicklow are a real tourism draw. But so we're working with County Wicklow Partnership to develop a forest bathing project to help stimulate more tourism in the area. So I suppose that would just give you a glimpse into the type of work we do, and I'm more than happy to answer questions when it gets to that stage of the presentation. Okay, thanks. Sorry, I have one more slide here, just probably because it may get shared later on. It's got our contact details. Really happy to connect with anybody, and follow us, and we'll share whatever insights or contacts we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for taking us through all of your fantastic initiatives truly across the breadth of Ireland. And please, everyone, do feel free to input your questions into our chat at the bottom, and we will come to all of those questions after all of our speakers have spoken. Lorraine, if you
I'm trying to get out of the slide share now at the minute. I'm having a bit of difficulty. Apologies. Not doing very well with it.
There we are.
Apologies. Yes, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And now if I could please invite Seany to be our next speaker to talk about bringing eats to the streets. I'm really excited to hear more about your projects, both your own experience and your consultancy work. And please, if I could invite you to unmute yourself. That's great. Yes. Thank you very much.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me okay?
All good, yep.
Sweet. I should have eaten food first because I'm going to talk about food now and I'm starving. So, yeah, guys, nice to see a good mixture of everyone here. My name is Sean McCleary, and I am the founder of Streat School Limited with my fiance Nikita. I'll give you a brief background about myself. Just I've kind of got the typical entrepreneur background story. My first memory was setting up a car wash when I was 9 and hiring 2 10-year-olds to run it for me. And charging €5 and paying them €1 each, and supplying stolen cleaning products from the house. So yeah, and then just throughout school, just always setting up little tuck shops in the locker, and just always seeing kind of margins and numbers, and always wondered how much someone was buying this for. And I suppose it kind of ran in the family a bit. My grandfather would have sold firewood and all that kind of stuff, so I would have seen him kind of making a bit of a business. But yeah, so my background actually nothing to do with food at all. I did a Master's of Science in Archaeology and Ancient Food Technologies, and throughout college, to pay my way, I was cooking in little hotels and cafes and making paninis. And I suppose at that stage, probably 18, 19, 20, I seen the kind of markup on food and what was going on behind the scenes. And I suppose as well, just, I can't say too much in case of any former employers watching, but just seeing that food was made, there was never a lot of pride in the food that I was making for other people. So again, in the back of my mind, always seeing, I suppose, potential to, I love the idea of handing out something you're proud of making, and also kind of obviously making a living out of that as well. So myself and my partner Nikita both graduated in 2012. It was basically the tail end of the recession here in Ireland. It was pretty horrific. Recessions are great when you're in college and you don't have to pay your way too much. Everything was kind of cheap. Rent was reasonably cheap. But yeah, when we went, job prospects were very minimal. And rather than staying in the archaeology end of things and digging dead people up for a living, we decided to go straight for the airport. We ended up spending 5 years traveling through 28 different countries. And we realized as well, one of the things we're great at is just networking, making connections along the way, talking to people, and something that's really stood to us until this day. You know, we worked with some great people along the way. Just, I suppose, what would later become Blast the Street Kitchen, our own food business, was just picking little pieces along the way, picking people's brains, stealing recipes, tweaking recipes. We love the idea of hosting parties. We used to live in New Zealand on the ski field. We were the first people down, leaving the ski field early to make lots of Mexican food and host a big party afterwards. But look, we lived in Melbourne, New York, South America, New Zealand. We moved home in 2017, and our idea was just, let's take everything we've learned, a little bit of, I suppose, yeah, let's go back and make the most of Irish produce, but put in a little bit of a global twist on it, you know. So we documented the 5 years along the way, thank God, photographs, videos, eating food, street food, and that, unknown to us until later on, was just obsession: street food, eating on the street, eating on the go. So basically we landed home, guys, January 2017. As Lorraine mentioned, local enterprise office in Ireland. There's a great support network there, unless you're doing anything to do with food. They literally just chased me from the door. So I hope you're not watching this, Eileen in Monaghan. So no, we were basically told from the social welfare people, you know, look, you can get the dole here, but you're not, good luck trying to set up your own business. Trying to sell tacos to people from Monaghan, where we're based, was just not a feasible business idea. So look, we were almost scared out of the idea of setting up our own business, and we thought, no, look, let's go ahead with it. And look, we set up Blast the Street Kitchen 2017. We're on the go 4 years now. We've grown the business to a retail range, a range of hot sauces, which we sell online, ready meals. We have 3 food trucks. We do catering, corporate events, weddings, and it's just street food with a story. For those of you who don't know, Blasta, B-L-A-S-T-A, is the Irish word for food, or sorry, for tasty. For tasty, Bia is the Irish word for food. So Blasta Street Kitchen, the idea was just create a name or a brand around Blasta, meaning, yeah, provenance, Irish food, local, and street kitchen, bringing in, you know, there was no street food here before we moved back. It was all kind of your chippers and greasy, unhealthy food, you know. And so Blasta Street Kitchen, right, 3 years in, we entered the National Franchise Awards. We won the Best Emerging Franchise based on business plans that we had created to roll out Blasta Street Kitchens everywhere. And in a funny situation, guys, meeting up to 50 different franchisees, we started to realize, well, wait there a minute. We just met John or Mary or Chris or Natalie. And now that I get to know these people, they already had a seed in their mind. They already had a business idea. The main appeal to these people wasn't Blasta, wasn't my story, or wasn't my food. It was actually the business in a box, the turnkey operation end of it. And that was it. We had a bottle of wine and the light bulb moment. 7 days later, I raised private investment to launch the company and started manufacturing food trucks. And what we do is we rang back all 50 franchisees and said, hi Jane, hi Robert. Unfortunately, right now, Blasta isn't something that we're going to give away or you're going to take part in, but we're going to help you bring Chris's Crepes to life, or, you know, whatever their business concept was. So what we do is, in the space of 7-day turnaround time, we get a food truck, we create a brand for someone, we wrap it, we give them uniforms, business cards, the know-how, and everything they need in a box to set up a street food business. We do one-on-one workshops to basically prime that person and make sure, first of all, they're ready to set up a business, so they're not wasting their time or their money, because at the end of the day, we don't want to throw out trailers and food trucks and get people to set something up that's going to be a train wreck. So we do vet the people, make sure, first of all, they're playing to their strengths. You know, why is Finn O'Neill cooking burgers when he's 6 years of accountancy under his belt here? You know, that kind of thing. So we're just making sure that they know how to utilize their strengths, how to lay out their food truck. And guys, yeah, it just exploded, to be honest. About a year ago, 11 months ago now, we set up 40 different street food businesses around Ireland. We've got a few plans in the background at the minute to... yeah, we're launching Ireland and the UK's first, as far as I'm aware, booking platform to book a food truck for your private event. We're creating a big community. Not a million miles off what, if I could take Lorraine's presentation there and just put the word street food at the start of everything. We're trying to be the entrepreneur academy of the Hogwarts of street food, basically, right? So yeah, just to give you an idea, just before we started here, we had a brother and sister here from Kerry who are both very well educated in 2 different walks of life, and they're packing everything in temporarily to set up power bowls and smoothie bowls. So we just make sure everything from, you know, they're not paying, we set them up with an account with suppliers for packaging food, meat. We in-house do all their branding. And I say we, like, we have 10 different email addresses: sales at Street School, design at Street School, admin. There's literally just myself and Nikita. So yeah, we do a lot of it in-house, and then things that we will outsource, some of the food safety modules, for example, we're probably going to outsource some people to the likes of Lorraine now, potentially, to go and learn a bit more about the startup kind of ecosystem. And yeah, so now accidentally we've become the kind of go-to street food people. So we have the big retail outlets that are turning 100 million a year ringing us and saying, Sean, what's happening on the street? Is there any cool concepts? We've got space for 6 more street food outlets. Can you vet them and send them in here? And our business model is then we could take a retainer or we take a percentage. We've bought equity in small street food businesses. Yeah, so this year we did well at the National Startup Awards just before Christmas, and we got silver at in the COVID and pivot business transformation category. So out of the 40 people we've helped set up in the last 11 months, truthfully, 15 of them were really going to go under completely. They had cafes they couldn't afford to keep open. They had pubs that were probably not feasible before COVID, you know, so they were able to come to us. We create a food concept and help them with everything. And similar, I suppose, to Lorraine again, guys, is that some people come to me and they have no idea of what they want to do, how they're going to do it, but they know that they want to do it. So we create this kind of, yeah, business model for them and walk them through the entire stages. Some people have come to me and they've been a chef for 25 years in a 300-seater hotel restaurant. They've never had to deal with a customer. They've never had to exchange cash. They've never had to do social media, deal with negative criticism on their social media, which can affect people, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And yeah, so that's basically a large part of it. I'm sure I've probably forgot 50% of it, but yeah, so we just actually launched the last part, guys, before I'll not keep you any longer. I've just actually hired a head of marketing, and we're focusing on the non-food sector. So we have also these little pods which we create and manufacture we now promote them to the likes of Vodafone, who use our mobile pods, like for mobile retail basically. So that was largely COVID orientated. In November, December, we started getting phone calls from telecommunications companies saying, look, we love what you do. Could you brand a trailer for us and have us out on the road to go around college campuses next week? Yeah, 100%. So we've launched pods2go.ie, which is, doing quite well over there as well. And yeah, so at the minute I'm basically busy for the next few months doing one-on-one workshops via Zoom, which I'm terrible at, and still meeting some people that are close by, you know, in person, and going through everything. We spend an hour getting to know that person, their strengths and weaknesses, how we can help them, and then from there, by the time they've left here, like these guys today, they're feeling a lot more confident and they're ready to basically purchase a food trailer, you know. So yeah, I hope I've covered everything, guys. And if anyone wants to change of career, we'll help you get your eats to the streets.
Thank you very much, Seany. Some serious food for thought there. Now, we have had two of our fantastic speakers so far, and we're going to have a brief interlude where Aoife is going to run our third and final poll for everyone to let us know where you are on your startup journey. Now, if everyone would like to select an option here, that would be great. To let us know a little bit more about the makeup of our attendees this evening. I'm sure a lot of people have some great ideas. Hopefully they will be inspired to take forward after this evening. Thank you very much, Aoife. I see we have a good spread of members of startup and those who love to hear from them. So thank you very much. And if I could please invite Veronica forward to unmute to speak to her experience working in higher education and liaising with academia, industry and students at Edinburgh Innovations.
Okay, thanks very much. And I'd certainly like to thank the Causeway Young Professionals Board for inviting me to speak this afternoon. It is lovely to be here and be very inspired by the speakers to date. I think I don't tend to work with a lot of people like Seany. I tend to work with a lot of scientists and a lot of people with really deep, heavy tech. So it's really refreshing to hear that enthusiasm and that passion.
Till 5 anyway.
Okay. Sorry, I can hear someone in the background. That's put me off a wee bit. Sorry. Right. So Edinburgh Innovation. Sorry. I'm
good to go. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Okay then. So yeah, at Edinburgh Innovations, our vision is that we benefit society by helping researchers, students and industry drive innovation. That's a very lofty ambition, and what it tends to mean is that we have 100+ staff covering industry engagements, projects, consultancy, business development and funding and enterprise development. So that's where I come in. I work as a senior enterprise executive. As of last month, I was previously an enterprise executive. And as Jane said, working with the curiosity of young people is why I do what I do. I want to help them uncover what their potential is, very much by exploring the potential for commercializing. So Edinburgh Innovations has had more than 400 company formations over the past decade. But there's a huge range of interventions and much, much more than I can cover in my 3 to 5 minutes of chatting. But lots of things around workshops, around boot camps, around competitions, around, you know, you name it, we do it, training programs, etc., etc. But I'm going to narrow it down a bit by talking about one of my clients' routes into company formation. So let me introduce you to Alex. His idea was around automating culture and the culturing of microbiomes. So that's bacteria, yeast or algae to you and me. As I said, deep science. I first met him in January 2019. and again talked about the why. What is the opportunity? What is the market? What is the intellectual property? And I've been working one-on-one to support Alex, dealing with the inevitable bureaucracy that comes along with spinning out a company from a university, coaching him, flagging opportunities as and when they come. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the sort of things that I do. So in February 2019, I thought to myself, maybe it's a better idea if it's not just me asking Alex these questions. So I invited him to one of our opportunities called Pitching for Mentors. And that essentially is presenting to a group of experienced entrepreneurs, people who've been there, seen it, got the t-shirt, sold the t-shirt. And it was his first opportunity really to talk about the business end of his idea. And needless to say, it didn't really go well. He was very focused on the science, he was very focused on the technology, and didn't really talk about the opportunity in the business. So to help him with that, I basically supported him onto a program called iCure. And that is essentially in a 3-month customer discovery journey between May and September 2019. It's funded by Innovate UK, and its raison d'etre is about paying an early career researcher to talk to potential customers, competitors and supply chain to get a sense as to whether there actually is a market pool out there. We also bring in domain experts to act as volunteer business advisors to support them through this programme and beyond. The team met regularly and were very bought into it. At the end of the project, this 3-month period, the team were invited to apply for a closed call Innovate UK grant, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute or two. So in October 2019, I supported Alex to apply for a Royal Society of Edinburgh Enterprise Fellowship. I'm not sure how much you know about that, but I'm quite happy to answer any questions about that later on. He interviewed successfully in April 2020, and it pays for his salary for 12 months from April 2020 to April 2021. And it really plays a huge part in de-risking the first year of operations, as well as basically ensuring that he gets paid, and also provides training in key business skills. So this is Innovate UK grant. He was successful in gaining it, and it was £175,000 at 70% intervention rate for essentially product development and commercialisation work. I also worked with him over the spring and the summer of 2020 to secure £100,000 of investment to match that Innovate UK grant and provide working capital. As everybody who runs a company knows, cash is king. You need to have cash. So I invited Alex to join our virtual board, and again, this provides a strategic overview of business objectives by a standing panel of experienced entrepreneurs and investors. It offers clients the opportunity to meet and receive advice and support on a regular basis in preparation for when they receive investment and have a requirement for their own board of management. They provided an impetus, a sounding board, and introductions to the investment community for Alex, which was all very, very helpful in building his company. I've also provided support and feedback for various competitions with high profile in Scotland. So Alex reached the semi-final of Converge Challenge and won 45 grand from the Scottish Edge. Both these competitions provide profile funding and training, so they're worth entering to validate the business proposition, as they give a little bit of publicity. But I'm not a huge fan of encouraging people to become competition junkies. You know, my job is about getting them market ready. So just finally, I'm currently a board observer for Alex and the company, who met formally as on their first board on the 11th of January 2021, although the company formed middle of last year. The company has pulled down its first 2 months of funding from Innovate UK and have shipped their first order for 5 devices. They're working through design and manufacturing challenges, but are operating as an independent company. For me, it's been really exciting to be in part of Alex's path from academic to entrepreneur, and to cheer him on, challenge him and support him when he has felt despondent, because believe me, there have been days when he has. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica, for sharing your expertise in bridging between academia and enterprise. I'd now like to welcome Gregor forward, who can also speak to similar experience with his impressive expertise in text-to-speech software. And please, if I could welcome you forward.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Great, okay, thanks for inviting me. So yeah, when we started out, we attended a lot of events like this. So this has always been great to be able to, meet new people. So my name is Gregor Hofer. and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Speech Graphics. So, we basically went through a very similar journey as the previous speaker described. So this is actually very, very good segue into, sort of my journey. So I'm, obviously not from, as you can tell by my accent, I'm not from the UK, I'm from Austria originally. And I came here basically to do my PhD at the University of Edinburgh in machine learning and speech technology. And while I was doing my PhD, I actually met my business partner, who was also a PhD student. And so we both basically developed technology that analyzes speech and then produces the matching facial expressions on a digital character. So, you can think about some applications for that, it's like animation in video games or in TV or in movies. But, that's what we had was at the time was really just technology. And it's exactly this where, so you're at university and you have technology, but how do you get from that to something that you can actually sell? And, we were always interested in, starting a company, and, we're getting along very well. We were, working together, and so we thought, oh, it's really something really cool to do. But, finding customers and things like that was, wasn't really our expertise. But what we got a bit lucky because we organized a conference called the Symposium on Facial Animation and Analysis. And through that, there was a lot of industry types that attended this conference. And there was somebody from a game studio down in London called Lionhead, which doesn't exist anymore, but they were working on something. Back then it had a lot of dialogue. So this was in 2009. They had a lot of dialogue. There was a new peripheral that was going to come out coming out for the Xbox called the Kinect, which was this camera that lets you film, sort of the user and then kind of put that user into an experience. And then you had a digital character in that experience that the user could interact with. And obviously there was a lot of speaking and there was a lot of sort of animation that was needed. And, because of this conference, these people got the wind of the kind of the work me and my colleague were doing. And they invited us down to London, and we actually started working on that project. Before we even started the company, we were kind of just consulting kind of on the side while we're doing our studies. And that really showed us kind of where kind of a need is for what our technology is, what, kind of where the industry was missing pieces where we could really help. And so, but as time goes on, I basically then, finished my PhD and I became a postdoc at the university. I also took a position at an institute in Vienna. So I split my time between here and Vienna, working on research and, while still doing some consulting on the side. And then while all this was going on, we kept talking about, starting a company, and we started attending and actually then started talking to the, sort of the spin out. So that was at the time was called launch.ed, which was kind of what the University of Edinburgh provided for, researchers that wanted to start companies. And the person there, Rebecca, she was great. She basically walked us through all the things and, trying, coming up with a business plan, understanding, okay, how to size a market and so forth. So it was really good. And so through that, then in the end, we applied for a SMART grant, which was a grant that was offered by Scottish Enterprise. It was also like 70-30. So you got 70% covered of your cost by the grant, and you had to come up with the rest, the 30%. So we applied for that grant, and then we put our own money in for the 30%. And then the other part was provided by the Scottish government. We got the grant, and we basically rented an office at the university in Appleton Tower, which is, if you've ever been to Edinburgh, and now they've actually made it nice, but it was like the ugliest building in Edinburgh. It was horrific inside and outside. So it was great. And it was kind of a leaky office. And it was kind of just the two of us. And we started, thinking about, okay, so we have this grant, what are we going to do? And so what we decided was we actually bootstrap the company because the technology was really still in early stages. And so what we came up with initially with the business was basically a service company. So the idea was that people would send us dialogue from games or from TV shows or from movies, and we would basically animate it using our technology and then send them back the finished animation. And we did that was basically a service business and consulting, and we did that basically for 5 years. And through that, we learned a lot of stuff, you know, huge amounts about delivering on time, you know, how to, you know, what is good enough to deliver and things like that. And we took, you know, any job that could do. So we did a lot of cool stuff. We did, you know, we started, I think, sort of first sort of high profile project we were involved in was actually a music video with Kanye West, which was, you know, sort of black skinhead. I don't know if you've ever seen this video, but there's a lot of computer animation in there, and that's all done using our software. So that was huge. That was kind of our first big break. And then we did, you know, another thing we figured out was that a lot of stuff gets canceled in entertainment. So we didn't know this before, you know, as a researcher, again, it's something that, you know, about industry experience. So a lot of things get canceled, you know, sort of, you know, we started working on some TV shows and some games, but they never saw the light of day. So that was interesting to be part of that. But thank God we got that Kanye West piece. And we also, the first sort of big game that we worked on was Shadow of Mordor, which was is kind of a Lord of the Rings title. So that was another big break we got. And then through all of this period, we were still developing technology, we were developing software, and we were developing product. And that was really the big thing was, okay, how do we get from this sort of service where we're doing it all ourselves to something that we can just license and sell to customers? And then by sort of 2016, we had a piece of software that you know, we could license to game studios. And now, you know, again, the first client for that was Microsoft, and the first game that used that piece of software was Gears of War 4, which is a big title. And now that piece of software is 90% of all the big, you know, AAA studios, so the big sort of game studios that are out in the world actually use our software now. So it's been, you know, it's been interesting, like going from, you know, basically doing everything yourself and then starting to do this product development to do something that now is actually used by, you know, hundreds of studios in the world. So yeah, it's been a really good journey. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Gregor, for telling us all about the very interesting move from academia into commercial operations. And now to our fifth and final speaker of the evening. We will be talking a little bit about a more traditional technology in that Phil brought brewing back to the ancient town of St Andrews after a gap of over 100 years. But very many interesting stories to tell us this evening with expertise across management, consultancy, brewing and technology. Please unmute your mic, Phil, and share some more with us this evening.
That's good. Can you hear me, guys? Yeah, good. I've taken a leaf out of Seany's book, so I'm going to talk about beer. So I've got a beer in my hand, which I'm drinking. So I will not be offended if anybody wants to grab a glass of wine or grab a beer. It's kind of about that time. So in terms, I think a lot of the guys have already covered some of the entrepreneurial journey. So my take on this, I've got 4 different views, 4 different kind of areas of insight. One, I'm a management consultant by training. So for the last kind of 20 plus years, that's what I've done. So big governmental programs, Home Office, Department of Justice, that type of stuff. I've also set up and exited a business. So an IT business that I exited in 2015. Set that up in 2013. 2 years later, we managed to exit that 10 times investment value. It was in revenue. It wasn't in positive EBITDA by that stage, but we took an offer from a big technology company to buy us out at that stage. So that's an experience I've got. Currently, I'm the MD of the St Andrews Brewing Company, which is based in St Andrews, as you'd imagine, and we make beer. I say a fairly traditional product, as the guys have said. I do commercial lead for another technology company, which is Numitor Limited, based in Edinburgh, which is a follow-on from the company we exited in 2015. So essentially, we had a series of non-compete clauses that were built into our exit. We've kind of extinguished those, so we're kind of now back doing some stuff. The fourth dimension I bring to this, I'm also an angel investor. So I sit in the EOS investment syndicate. So Veronica is deep science. I'm part of that world, and that we invest in part of that world. So Harriet Watt, Edinburgh. My investments range from fish genetics, so fish farming, because my wife's a marine biologist, so that's why I don't understand it. I get her to give me advice and tell me it's good, right the way through to an online football gaming platform, right the way through to a video curation site, right the way through to a company that's looking at treatment for brain cancer, so brain tumor. So I kind of, the way I articulate it these days is I've done it, I'm doing it, and I'm really hoping that other people do it for me as well at the same time. So I kind of have those three aspects to it. So rather than take you through the journey of the St Andrews Brain Company, because it's quite a journey, I'll kind of just really give you my insight as to 2 or 3 of the things that as entrepreneurs you should be looking for or want to look for. And this is my world take, or my worldview, by the way, so you can please feel to ignore it as much as you want to. The first thing that I always say to people who both pitch to us as a syndicate, and just to give you an idea of the pitch rate that we get. So as a syndicate, we meet 4 times a year. So we meet once a quarter. We'll see on average 2, if not 3 companies. So we might see as a syndicate 12 companies a year. Of those, if we invest in 4 a year, that's a good investment year for us. Of that, the funnel, so at the top of the funnel, the gatekeepers may have seen in excess of 200 to 250 companies a year. So there's a real drop-off rate between companies who come to angel syndicates to those that actually get to pitch to the investment members, those then that actually get investment. So there's quite a heavy drop-off. There is almost this worldview that if you go around the syndicates, and I've done it myself, you know, I'm a bit like Gregor in that I've gone around the syndicates, I've done the pitches, you've kind of poured your heart and soul to it, and then you get that, no, actually it's not for us at this stage. So I've been there, guys. So there is quite a lot of attrition. The key thing I'd say is you really, really need to test your idea. Everybody thinks they've got the golden nugget. Everybody thinks they've got the golden nugget. And if everybody did, we'd all be millionaires, and we probably wouldn't need innovation services anymore. So I always say to people, really test it with your friends, test it with your families, test it. Would you buy it yourself? You know, if somebody actually said to you, would you put your own money into this? Would you actually do it? A lot of entrepreneurs or early startup people think, I'm putting my time, my effort, my ideas into it. That's enough investment. Well, the reality is you're going to syndicates or you're going to external investment, actually asking them to put their hands in their pockets and give you cash. So if you're not prepared to give cash to the enterprise yourself, why would other people do it? So that's the thing. And then go and consult with as many industry experts as you can find. The business gateway services in Scotland, I use those guys all the time, even if it's just to give them a call and ask them questions. I talk to people in academia all the time. You know, I'm lucky I live in St Andrews. My wife is an academic, but if something comes across the syndicate, I'll go ask other academics, is this a good thing? Does this make sense? What's the competition? You know, try and get a sense of the real commercial market value. And then the other thing as well, that I go explore the competition, actually go explore the competition. In the brewing world, I'm lucky I quite enjoy a beer, so I'll go visit other bars, etc. But in the technology space, I'll sign up for free demonstrations of any technology I can find. So if I'm looking, you know, if I think I've got the best idea in video curation, I'll sign up for video curation sites, take the 10-day free trial, test, is their idea better than yours? And if it is, well, that might give you a signal as to what you want to do going forward. So that's the first thing. And be really hard on yourself. Be a really hard critic on your idea, because you're going to get some really tough challenges out there. And if you have been a really hard critic, then it's a much more defensible position. The second thing I'd say is there is a real tendency in founders who try to go into an entrepreneurial space to try and do it all themselves. So there's very much that view. And I keep hearing people say, don't take external investment too early, you give away too much equity, or don't get other people involved, you lose control. From my perspective, absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The best bit of advice a boss of mine ever gave me was you have to recognize your own weaknesses and plug those as soon as possible. Because I think it was Cedars put out a report last week to say 30% of investment decisions are based on the people that are pitching an idea. So if you're going in and it's quite clearly you don't understand numbers, or you don't have a passion for the product, or you're not a strategy person, you're too much, as Veronica says, you're too much deep science, people spot that really quickly. So you need that blended team, you need that blended approach. I've always been fortunate in that I've been able to identify my weaknesses quite quickly, because they're fairly evident in a number of cases, and then plug them quite quickly. But I think that's the key thing for me in terms of people. And the final thing that I would get from my experiences is the ability to adapt. Now, the brewing company, we've been through a horrible year, as is everybody in the last 12 months. But what it's forced us to do is to adapt our ideas. And, you know, Seany said it, you know, he came with one view and then, you know, came up with an entirely different business model. That's essentially what we've had to do. If you had said to me beginning of 2020, you know, what was the value or what value did we put on e-commerce as a brewing company? It was minimal. It was an afterthought. Now it's one of our key sources of revenue. You know, it's one of the things we now pursue the hardest. And, you know, Christ, I now understand TikTok, you know, and I'm of a generation that shouldn't, in my opinion, understand TikTok, because that's a wormhole that you never want to get into too frequently. But I now understand TikTok, Instagram, these platforms, because that's where industry is now done. So previously, where we would have been saying we're on trade, so we're in pubs and bars, etc. Supermarkets are still important to us. We're now looking at direct-to-consumer activity. And the biggest pivot we've done as a business is really looking at our export strategy. You know, we've been very critical on ourselves in the last 12 months to say, you know, we've always been comfortable, St Andrews, there's enough cachet domestically that we could sell our product. Now we're saying actually our strongest USP is probably internationally, it's not locally. So let's put our time, our effort and our focus into that, whilst realizing that we're in a depressed market locally already. So, and I think if you, from my perspective, if somebody came to me as an entrepreneur or came to our syndicate and said, I've got a good team, I've got a good tested idea, and by the way, I'm willing to take advice, from our perspective, they're kind of 85 to 90% of the way there. Now, that's not to say they'll get the money, because there's a lot of other factors come into play, but they're 90% of the way there in terms of us then as a syndicate saying it's something, and then we'll do our, from a syndicate perspective, what we then do is we then do our due diligence in that. We will argue pre-money valuations, we'll argue investment strategies, we'll argue developmental strategies, but ultimately if they're 90% of the way there, then we're incentivized to do those on a positive basis rather than a negative basis. And ultimately, that's then what kind of drives through some of the things. And actually, we're very confident that this year we'll start to see, you know, a number of good returns from our investments at a syndicate level, which in the current context is absolutely what we're looking for. So that's kind of my worldview. As I say, it is a worldview, but hopefully it's one that's been shaped by. I think it was Veronica, or maybe Lorraine, who said, you know, one of the old heads in the room that's kind of done a little bit of it, a little bit of everything. So hopefully it makes some form of sense to you guys.
Thank you very much, Phil. You've certainly worn a lot of hats over the last overall of your enterprises that you've been involved in. Thank you so much to all of our speakers this evening. We've had such a breadth of expertise from academia to hospitality and to innovation hubs as well. We're going to have a brief Q&A session before we enter our networking breakout rooms. So if anyone would like, that doesn't already have a nice cool glass or something, would like to hop to their fridge or wine cupboard, please do. In the meantime, please insert any of your questions into our chat at the bottom. And if you would like to direct a question to one of our speakers in particular, please put that in your message as well. I'm going to start with one of the questions that really caught my eye. Veronica, could you tell us a little bit more about what you do to help entrepreneurs protect their intellectual property?
Yeah, I saw that question come in, and it's a really, really important one, and it's one that is often a big source of contention with the academic staff and the universities. So obviously enough, the university has a policy, and that policy is, you know, like a 50-50 split, something like that. It never ends up like that, because every single case in University of Edinburgh is looked at differently. So what we want to do is work with the academic team, and we want to work with the broader team, because I agree with Phil, it's so important to have a range of experience around a young founder. And we want to basically agree an intellectual property strategy. So sometimes that involves patenting, but patents aren't everything in this context. There's a lot of know-how. You know, you can have the most inventive step that you like, but if somebody can't do it, then, you know, it's useless. So we work up with each individual an intellectual property strategy. But the first thing I always say to people is talk about the sizzle and not the sausage. So do not talk about how it does it. Talk about what it does and that way you can keep yourself clean. But that's very high level. I'm more than happy to enter into more discussion with people if they're interested.
Thank you very much for that. And now if we could turn to Lorraine for a question which came through on how you encourage entrepreneurs to focus on leadership strategy and avoid trying to do everything, particularly in the first 2 years of business.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. So our brand of education that we work with, it's practical entrepreneurship, you know. So we you know, it's not about business, it's not learning about business, learning to do it, you know. So a very practical, hands-on approach. So when we looked at some of the gaps, so when you look at the kind of skills that people need to learn, like the very kind of like the business skill, like kind of marketing, sales, all of that sort of stuff, and the financial skills, that's all fine and well. We can do that on a very practical level. But when we look at what people really need to do to be able to develop themselves as an entrepreneur, we knew that we needed to get a very practical approach to helping them to lead themselves, lead others, and lead their organization. So we started to look at some sources in the US. So we sent our team off to the US to be trained and licensed and certified over there in delivering leadership, really practical, gamified in some cases, leadership development. So we do it in a gamified format. We also do mastermind groups where we bring, if we're working with the group, we'll bring them together for an hour and a half a week over 8 or 10 weeks to do a study on a particular element of leadership. Also, I suppose it's really important to note that the founder of the Entrepreneurs Academy, Joanne Hession, is also the founder of an organisation in Ireland called Lift Ireland, and Lift stands for Leading Ireland's Future Together. That is one you should jot down and look up. It's incredible. I know it's in Ireland, and a lot of people here are in Scotland, but it's absolutely one to be aware of. So Lift is focused on increasing the values and embedding stronger values within all of society, all of business, all of Ireland at the moment. And it's working in schools and universities. It's working in, you know, like our broadcaster. It's working, you know, everywhere. There's nobody who isn't welcome into the fold for Lift. So the values of Lift are very much our values. We're founding partners of Lift Ireland. So leadership, the values of leadership and personal leadership are very, and so we integrate it into all of our programs. You know, helping people to be able to understand the difference between leadership and management. And the importance of starting with yourself. You cannot lead a business if you cannot lead yourself. Because a lot of people come to us and they say, you know, I want to learn time management. You don't manage time, you lead yourself. And that's the approach that we take there.
Thank you very much. I think we just have time for one more question before we go into our breakout rooms. And one for Seany. Could you tell us a little bit more about your pivot from your street food to your consultancy model and the kind of services that you offer there?
Hello, yeah. So it was the best thing that happened to me personally, because whenever my food business got a kick in the ass, I actually stepped back, used local enterprise office, who eventually gave me money after about 3 years of chasing them up. I was able to utilise a few salary grants. I strategically hired a bookkeeper, a business manager, an operations manager, and a part-time staff member. So my food business, Blast the Street Kitchen, still runs completely in the background. That for me is the biggest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm literally up here now looking down and moving things around. And just to be honest, guys, like our turnover in January was actually 80% of what we did all of last year. So that's more so like the street school end of it came into there as well. But I mean, it was really just when I thought I had stepped back probably in January 2020. It was only in January 2021 I realized I was really stepped back and everything really started to fall into place. But really undervaluing my own time, like, you know, just for handiness sake, if sure, I'll not bother getting that person in tomorrow to label for, you know, 1,000 bottles of hot sauce. I'll just sit here and answer emails and do it myself. Then I realized I was wasting my time, basically, you know. So just, I suppose that's, a lot of people have similar stories, but just working on the business. Each year I thought I was, working in I was working on it, but really just last year now, COVID, everything kicked it into place, and you know, just very happy in how the whole thing has worked out. And taking that leap and putting someone in the position, I made myself indispensable, I suppose, for too long, for 2.5, 3 years, and now when I step back, it's amazing. Like, you know, it's been great. So yeah. Back to you, Saoirse.
Thanks very much, Seany. Now I'll turn to Megan, who is going to introduce our breakout rooms, and I will pass on a technical thanks to Aoife, who is the magic behind these breakout rooms for us this evening.
Doing my best.
Yeah, thanks so much to all our speakers today. I think such a nice thread through kind of everyone's entrepreneurial journey or expertise is the resilience that everyone shows, to kind of keep going in spite of challenges and to maneuver things and that. So yeah, thanks so much. So in our breakout rooms, what I think is going to be really interesting to discuss is kind of, first of all, is there a startup you wish that you had founded? Have you had some amazing idea years ago? Let's say you used to drive around cars using maps and you thought, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if there was some kind of tool that we could use that would just tell you where to go? Yeah, sat nav, that's what we're having now. So is there an idea that you had that you thought, oh, that would be so interesting? And why did it kind of never come to fruition? Or what was it that stops you from pursuing these dream ideas that you have? What are the barriers and challenges to that? And also, is there a startup you wish you founded because it's something you really admire? Is there qualities in a startup that you think are really good? So yeah, we're going to break out into our rooms. If everyone could nominate a kind of spokesperson, that would be amazing. Just so when we come back in, we can hear a little bit about what's been going on in everyone's room. And I guess as well, if you are part of a startup already, so you've had that experience or you're on your entrepreneurial journey, you can kind of share some of the challenges that you've had that are probably similar to other reasons why people haven't pursued their own ideas. So Aoife, whenever you're ready, if we could go into our breakouts.
Yeah, I'll open them up now.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. So I'll start if that's okay. Just kind of a little bit of a recap about our rooms. So I was in with Nancy, Craig and Veronica, and what's so interesting is Nancy is launching her social enterprise tomorrow and it's her birthday today, so it's a super exciting time for Nancy. And kind of one of, I know, big round of applause for Nancy. One of the really kind of interesting things that she was saying, and it's actually the same with the company startup I'm working for just now, is that both of them have come out as a product of COVID, and that's been actually the push, the final push to say, do you know what, let's do this. And Nancy was kind of reflecting as well about what the legacy is that she wanted to leave. So while previously she kind of wasn't ready to jump into this, and she's realized it's a calculated risk now. If, you know, it's one of those things, if I don't try now, how will I know? And I think one of the challenges that we were kind of discussing as well is the new learning, then the new language that you need to kind of understand when beginning your startup. Nancy was referencing kind of website development, things like that, that we'll throw ourselves into things, and it can be the learning about all these new challenges and skills that's actually really exciting. So yeah, that was a little recap of my room. Thanks so much to everyone involved, and that was really good. And I'll pass over to Saoirse to recap from.
Thank you. We had some really interesting discussions in our room where I was joined by Gregor, Lorraine and Jane. And what's really interesting thread that came out from our discussion was that the future-proofed businesses emerging now are green and digital. And that's a real change in the dialogue from what we've seen previously. And as you say, Megan, I'm really excited to see what new and emerging businesses are coming through. And you can see that the mission statement is such a clear driver for business now. And I see that we have been joined by Finn as well. So would you like to share some more, and Ailish too, about the interesting discussions you had in your breakout rooms?
We kind of spoke about how we all agreed on the fact that often the best entrepreneurs don't completely reinvent the wheel. They take something that exists, something that might seem simple. Obviously, there's a lot of work going into it behind the scenes, but a seemingly simple concept, and improve upon it. And we talked about the example, I don't know if people have seen it, of Nike, and they invented the shoe that you can just put on by slipping your foot in. And it's crazy to think that shoes have been around for I don't know how long. But, you know, it's taken so long for a seemingly simple concept, which is obviously accessible to more people, and it's going to improve a lot of people's lives. And we also spoke about the shoe, and I think it was for, you know, poorer people, that is adjustable. So, you know, there's no pressure to have to keep rebuying pairs of shoes. It was more adjustable so that they can keep it for a longer time. So, yeah, kind of the concept that taking something and improving upon it tends to be successful.
Great. Finn, do you want to share the insight from your room?
I was laughing there because I so rarely wear slip-on shoes. I was like, wow, that's a really good idea, which is ridiculous. But yeah, we had a really interesting conversation actually about, amongst other things, just the way the pandemic has pushed us all into a more innovative way of thinking, and you know, things that we thought we may have been driving on innovation, we really weren't, and this has really shown us all up for it, and which is great, I suppose, because it's all about learning new skills, and as Phil was saying, just identifying your own weaknesses. I find every day now, all the weaknesses I have in terms of technology and innovation, they're just been showing up daily, and we now have the opportunity to develop on them, learn more. It's fantastic.
Super, thanks, Finn. And who else do we have that was in a breakout room? I feel like we haven't got around them all yet. Anyone else like to share anything? Any insights?
I think we've had so many wonderful insights tonight, and I've really enjoyed hearing from our speakers and the discussions in our breakout rooms as well. I think it really speaks to the strength of Causeway's membership, that we have both new and emerging businesses and very experienced professionals amongst us. And if I could please invite Bridget forward to talk a little bit more about benefits of Causeway membership.
Hi folks, just a couple of quick things from me. First of all, just to say thanks to the Young Professionals Committee, and in particular to Megan and Saoirse, to Finn and Ailish as well, but in particular Megan and Saoirse, who have run this event. It's not easy running an event, all the organisation that goes into it, and actually facilitating and speaking and all of that. It's none of that is easy, and those of us who have been doing it for years and years and years often quake in our boots, and you guys have been absolute pros, so you can be sure we're going to be asking you to do a lot more of it. In Causeway, we're all about networking. We're just about facilitating business connections and professional connections and collaboration across the Irish Sea between Scotland, Ireland and Northern Ireland. We're an informal network. We're friendly. We love having new members. Please do come and join us. We have loads of different events that we run, networking events, sector-specific events, things like this. We also, for our young professionals, actually young and experienced professionals, Jane McCulloch mentioned it at the beginning of her piece, that we run a professional partners program, which is a mentoring and reverse mentoring program where our young professionals get matched with an experienced professional, get together, have chats about career, about business challenges, whatever you want. But both partners can learn from each other, and both partners benefit from the relationship, and we match you with somebody when you join Causeway. So just another reason to join Causeway. So thanks very much to all of our amazing speakers. I personally am really inspired and enthused and confident in the future when I hear everything we've heard today. And thanks to our young professionals for doing a stellar job. And back to you, Saoirse and Megan.
Thank you very much, Bridget. We hope to see some of our attendees again soon at some of our exciting events that we have coming up shortly, including our Women's Day event, St. Patrick's Day, a little bit different again this year, and digitising construction. We would welcome anyone who would like to stay on with us for a virtual drink, and for anyone that needs to head off, thank you very much for joining us this evening.